Agreed.
Let's jump over to the NLCS because this series has been fantastic. We've only seen 2 games, and I'm loving it already.
Oh, bro,
It's amazing.
it's
So
amazing.
the Phillies jumped out. They took game 1 in decisive fashion. They shut down the Padres, and then game 2. This is the big story of the week. Is it Fox? These games are on Fox, right? FS1.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they had just been salivating. The first time in history that a pitcher-catcher brother matchup has ever been had in the playoffs. It's just like, oh, we can't wait. We cannot
Yeah.
wait for this.
It's all they
Were
talked about
like
too.
situated next to the parents and everything. It's one of those things, kind of like the Clayton Kershaw and Matt Stafford story that comes up every
Yeah,
year about this
yeah,
time. Did you know they went to high school together?
yeah.
What? Yeah.
No,
It's kind of
yeah,
the same thing. Obviously, like, these guys share the same last name. I wonder if they're brothers. Oh, they sure are. But anyway, Aaron Nola dominated Austin Nola, as you would expect, because Aaron Nola he's an elite pitcher. I don't want to say elite, but he's a very good pitcher.
he's very good.
Ace type stuff. And then Austin Nola had to he had to switch to catcher to make the big leagues. That's pretty much went on. And he's improved. He's gotten to be a lot better than he was in Seattle.
Totally.
He's the everyday catcher for the Padres, so he's an everyday big leaguer, which is saying something. But
Totally.
Aaron Nola is the better of the two, and he had his way. However, that being said, Brig, despite the Phillies jumping out to a 4-0 lead early in game 2, Padres came back and won that one.
Yep.
And that, I think, could be a trend the rest of this series, because, man, when the Phillies jumped out early, I was like, oh shoot, like, that bullpen did its job. Game 1, 2-0. They did their job. They did their job against the Braves.
Yeah.
But they didn't do their job the rest of the way in game 2.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if that's a trend. That's the trend we're going to see the rest of this series.
I think we're going to get our way, though. Like, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but I think we're going to get our hopes met this time.
With a slugfest.
I think it's going to be a slugfest, and I think it's going to go all the way to 6 or 7 games, and we're going to have a party every time. And I think so. It's super exciting I mean, if game 2 was any indication with the back and forth and the unlikely comeback, it was and everything was a factor. The sky and the sunlight and the shadows and the 90-degree weather, so the balls got pop off the bat, and it was just, I was like this. I was feeling it so hard.
So, were you as shocked as I was that Soto did lose that ball in the sun?
I was like, what?
So it was so weird, because, like, I see a lot of guys who, like, you can tell they've got it, and then when you can see when they don't, but then you can see that they stick with it, and then they get it right back at the very last second. That, like, there's some guys, you watch them do it, and they're like, okay, I think it's going to be right here, so they stick their glove up, and they're just kind of waiting for the ball to fall in the glove. I thought that's what Soto was doing, but then I looked, like they showed on the replay, it's like he didn't shield, like, didn't look like there was a shadow on his eyes at all.
No,
with his glove, from his glove. And so I'm like, man, he lost that thing when it got up to its highest point, and there was no getting it back. And it was probably one of those ones where it's like perfectly eclipsed the sun, right? And as it comes down, it's like there's no chance. Like, yeah, I was surprised,
outfield, right?
Yeah, I was surprised that he lost it.
Yeah,
and then I think I was even more surprised that the Phillies didn't score 2 runs on that play, instead only 1.
Dude, that's what I was saying, is the conservative base running was insane.
Yeah.
Because that game should have been way different, I thought, based on the breaks they were catching, like situations like that.
Yeah. Yeah. There were a couple times they should have been I felt like they should have been a little more aggressive and sent some runners, but they were super conservative. They may have left, I think in the end, they may have only left 1 run on the board when it came down to it with their conservative base running. But you never know how that's going to change strategy and approach later. Like, I don't know. It's just, it was weird. It was crazy to see.
That's why I think it would be a way different game, because of all the different decisions that get made. The nuances change. Yeah, I agree. So can we get into the scorecards really quick on the NLCS? Because I feel like they're interesting.
Yeah.
So here's the game 1 scorecard. And the reason I think it's interesting is because the called strike accuracy was 100%. And we do a lot of calling out on this show when the umpires don't do a good job, but I thought it was really important that we give Brian Knight some credit here. He's got a 94% called ball accuracy and a 100% called strike accuracy. You can't argue much with a called strike accuracy of 100%, but it's even more important that we understand the league average is 88%.
So I want to point out, look at those balls that he quote unquote missed. As a pitcher, catcher, batter, I would take that either way.
Totally.
It's one of those ones you're like, ooh, that was close, but you're not going to argue it because those are the only balls he missed.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with that. That is excellent officiating.
It's excellent. Overall consistency is 95%, right? Overall accuracy, 97.
Especially since his calls only basically gave the Padres 0.13 runs. Like, first off, it's in favor of the team that lost, and second, it's less than 0.15. That's pretty good.
Yep.
I
totally
amazing.
Agree.
Good for him.
I thought it was really important that we bring that up. Now, let me go ahead and shift over to game 2 because we have a very different storyline here. We called ball accuracy still 98%.
Oh, Lance Barrett.
But it's Lance Barrett, and Lance Barrett's called strike accuracy is 92, which I thought was admirable. You know, it's better than it has been. But look at some of these misses, though. This is like, you can take onesie twosies and you can look at the data that way, or you can take the aggregate data and look at it as a whole or whatever. But some of these misses are pretty egregious, buddy.
Yeah, like that number 3, the one that's up and out of the zone, that's really high.
Yeah.
So Lance Barrett, I believe, was the umpire at the game I was at in August. And man, it's one of those things where like you think you can see the zone standing out in center field, because we went out in center field and watched like the last 3 innings of the game. Yeah. And you think you can see the zone out there, but it was to the point where it's like you could tell that it was a ball and he was calling it a strike. Right. And I just remember yelling out there, "Come on, Lance!" You know, people were like, "Who's Lance?" Lance is the umpire doing a terrible job. Yeah, that's what's going on.
So the number 1 that you can see, which is the all the way outside the left side of the strike zone, the left-handed batter's box. That was in the 4th. The number 2, all the way in on the right-hand side, the right-handed batter's box, was in the top of the 9th. And the bottom of the 8th is that number 3, clear up high. So I really appreciate these guys. We get this information from Umpire Scorecard. They do a great job. There's a great follow on Twitter if you're ever interested in following them, but they're also available. I see them on the baseball subreddit every once in a while as well. So
go back to that real quick, Brig. I want to point something out. So notice how it's the established zone is kind of like a diagonal strike or stripe, right?
Right. Yeah.
That means there were no pitches up and in on lefties and low and in on righties.
That's right.
Because there were no missed calls down there. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Insane.
Huh. That's good. That's really good.